How's it going, YouTube? More daily Digimon content here, as I'm going to be bringing you a deck profile a little bit early. It's Ragnaloardmon. Y'all all know me for Ragnaloard, and obviously we're waiting to see what I've been cooking up since before. And I'm pretty happy with my current 50, but transparently this is going to change. I've been working with Alphamon Specialist DHM, Rena's Strongest Soldier, Jambo TCG, and also Yuxo was also able to take their Ragnaloardmon list to 17th at the core TCG regional. So I've been talking to all of them, so the list is still subject to change, but I'm happy enough with it based on the results that it's gotten and how similar it is to Yuxo's 17th place list and like the things that we've spoken about. I feel pretty confident that other people can go out and take my 50 into the world as is, and when I have all of my chase rares and some results of my own to back it up, then I'll be doing a revamped version of this list. Maybe not in EX6, but in one of the later formats where I'm happy with how the deck is performing. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, as I did say, this list subject to change, but this is the 50 that I've been playing, and I'm pretty happy with them, and it shouldn't really come as a surprise that we are running 4 KnTElixar. It is just the best egg. The Sakutomon just cannot hold a candle to the things that this KnTElixar can do. It allows you to be super aggressive with some of your ratios because you can just get your one-offs back. Then, speaking of one-offs, we are currently on the 1 Gacha Ludomon because sometimes you do just get decent value off of it, and also giving yourself blocker at all times is really, really helpful, so that way you can have blocker at stages lower than the level 6. For the rest of the Ludos, we're on 2 of the new one and 3 of the Searcher even. Oh, 2 of the Searcher, never mind. So I'm going to be bumping this up because in talking to some of the others, I think because we don't have Garnet boost yet, being able to rip top 5 in order to find the piece that you're looking for is super important. So it's possible that these ratios are going to be changing a little bit. I'd probably be bumping some of this up and seeing more of some of our other level 3s. We're on 2 of the new Zubamon. Being able to go +4 and then having the Inherit +2 for just a random 1 cost 6k boost is just not normal. And I think this card is better than the black pieces. You see the being able to, I prefer to play more aggressively rather than being just a big black blocker deck. In some matchups, you do need to figure out where to get your DP boost, but this one I think allows you to be super belligerent. And we're on the 1 of Promo Zubamon for now. This also is absolutely going up. These two, I've kind of put them on top of each other because these are super aggressive, like hand rip or like digging, and then this allows you to just be super aggressive. Another combo piece that we'll kind of talk about, well, I'll talk about it now, is that the Raiji Ludomon lets you gain protection, but that is like when you're going to be deleted. The option card is when you would be removed, play something from source. So you could play this out from the source, use the Raiji Ludomon to protect yourself, and then get your reveal top 3, tuck it back under, and steal 2 during your opponent's turn because it's an on-play rather than a your turn. So you can use this to memory steal. The more of these you see, not only are you able to repeatedly stack your deck, and sure you're spending 1, but you're gaining 1 back with the egg every single turn. This becomes a 0-cost deck fixer, and if you're putting stuff to the bottom, then it allows you to see more and more of your pieces. And then the last rookies are going to be 4 of the Spartamon, the on-play, pitch 1 to draw 2, or just pay 1 to load it under something to draw. The Inherit is delete a 3k. Does come up and is quite nice for just kind of getting rid of pesky things on board, going 2 for 1 on your swings. So decent assortment of rookies. Your mileage may vary on the ratios. Again, I think the Searchers and the Zubamon are definitely something you should keep your eyes on, especially with the reprints coming to the Zubamon to make it more accessible. You should definitely be on a couple more of these. Then we are on more level 4s than we have been on in previous Ragnar lists, but still a little bit on the low end. We've got 1 promo Zubamon because sometimes you just gacha it and it pops a 5k, can be quite useful. Also slotting under to give another 3k pop Inherit. Not quite as important now that we have the Spartamon, which can get loaded, but it's still another level 4 that evolves over both, keeps the names, and is quite useful. Again, same as the Zubamon, 4 of the Zubaiga, because this guy goes crazy. Another +6 for 1 cost. As a reminder, these cost 1 to put under rather than 2. Very, very solid card, and again, is a Zubaigamon that gains raid and piercing when you do load things under. So if you're loading the red rookie under it, suddenly you're like a 10k beat stick that just blows things up, just goes belligerent. Then we've got Blocker Reboot, where if you're going to be evolving into a red source, sometimes you want to go load to get the Blocker Reboot and then go into the next piece. It's super helpful as well if you're on this or the level 5, where you can load before going into your new Durandamon. So that way, when you do get your Blitz, Raid, Pierce, after that, you then have your reboot blocker. So just making sure that you sequence things correctly, knowing when to go into black and red source, depending on what you're going to end on, really, really helpful. So we're on 9 level 4s, a little bit on the low side, but you can find them quite easily. And with the amount of search that we have and the draw power, you can still get decent value. But if you want more, then just go for more search. 4 of the best card in the deck. The Ragnaloardmon's so good, it's getting stolen by other decks. Play 2 to taunt something, and then it is Omni Protection as well when you would get deleted. You can pitch itself, or you can pitch other things. You just have to figure out what it is you want to get rid of. And as a reminder, you can pay 2 to taunt, and then start of your main phase, use the egg to bring that thing straight back. Really, really helpful card. Do have to be a level 5 or a Legend Arms, which allows us to abuse it a lot better. But you're going to be using that to set up your taunt plays. And then we're only on 3 of the new Digimon. I was on 4 because I love giving this sec +1. Sometimes when you build a 5 in the back, you have a 5 out front, and you load a second one of it, and then go into Duranda or Ragnar, like Duranda, and then you're baiting for Blast Evo. Just being able to go Duranda, effectively Blitz, Raid, Pierce is burn 2 if you've got 2 Duramon, and then check 2, which is just not normal. 4 security moved out of nowhere is really hard for a lot of decks to deal with, especially when if they try and crack back with a swing over, they just get Blast Evo'd, or the threat of Blast Evo is right there. We are on 1 of the old ST Duramon for the end of turn DNA, so that way you're not always having to play that bait game. You can kind of DNA proactively, which was kind of the identity that we spoke about in the fanboy little testing group for Legend Arms. We've been wondering how we can kind of move the deck in a little bit more of a proactive way, because obviously playing big black control is fantastic, but every so often you kind of just want to take your own agency, and the Duramon was a great way of doing that. That, and also this is a deck that can still quite happily go 3, 4, 5 in the back, and this is the best 5 to have, because when you push out and evolve, reducing the cost of your evo by 1 does feel really, really good, especially when you push out and then you KnTElixar to bring something back. You can get choked to 1 and then still be able to go to 2, reduce your cost of evo by 1, and evolve and keep turn if you're evolving into your Durandamon. 3 cost evo becomes 2 over this Duramon. And if you're loading sources as well, before you remember my old X antibody tech where you would load X antibody under it in order to proc the your turn without having to gacha. That one tech that I made up is now the deck's entire identity, but you also get bonuses for it. So it's a fantastic card in this list. Obviously, its inherit is just straight up power crept by new Duranda. This allows Tamers to pop out of security. This one doesn't. This one just tells you to pick up your security and go home, which I think more decks should be able to do. Fantastic card as well. Gaia Force for 3 cost is not normal. We do have 1 of the old Ragnaloardmons. This is what kind of helps you get your like Omni Protection, because this one is unaffected by all of your opponent's effects during their turn. Obviously, it's an opponent's turn effect, so during your turn and Blast Evos, you are liable to them. But sometimes plays a body out to the board, and now that you can consistently actually load it with protection, it is likely to whiff on the turn it comes out and not be protected, which is something to be super mindful of. So you will want your Raijus under it in order to keep it safe for a turn. But every other turn after that is just an unaffected idiot that you can keep pumping with sources and using the KnTElixar to bring them back. So you'll never run out of like your 1 cost source protections to then bait for blast. And then of course the last one is that 1 turn guaranteed full protection from opponent's Digimon, and this one gives you the can't leave the battle area except by deletion, and then the Ragnaloardmon gives you the protection there. So by evolving into this Brue, loading this one, and then having the Raiju, you do have a completely invincible Ragnaloardmon, which is always fun to use. And of course you can use the option card to put this under. So if you're kind of squeamish about not being able to load this as freely, be up on more of the option card, and then you can run this at least a 2 of. I think there's room to change this around. I didn't really want to go higher than 8 because obviously we are on a bunch of level 7s as well, and that's a lot of megas to have in hand. But ultimately you can change these ratios around to kind of fit. I think that like at least 3 and 3 is super important because of how toolboxy these are. But these I think are slept on. I don't think people should be cutting them nearly as much as people have been. Alright, that's the level 6s, but Ultimate Sword and Shield are going to turn into Ragnaloardmon. So 3 of the Blast Evo ones. Some people would assume that you play 4, but I think that's too many because we are on other Ragnars as well. Fantastic card, becoming completely unaffected, trashing the top card. And then if DNA Digivolving, de-Digivolve 1 and delete. Usually if you have a blocker, this means that you're de-Digivolving the thing that's attacking, deleting something next to it, and popping. And if there's any overflow things, like any aces on board as well, you can be doing this and stealing turn and just straight up turn skipping people, which is fantastic. Since we did say we were going to be playing pretty proactive because of things like this Duromon, where you can get the sec +1 without having to gacha quite easily and without having to spend memory, that makes this Ragnaloardmon much better because it's a 0-cost evo many of the times when you're loading your protections. And having the sec +1 from this Duromon means this is a 3-check no option card idiot, which is just absolutely fantastic. 14k is big enough, not quite as big as the other Ragnars, which are 15, which can be a bit annoying. And obviously aces you're not fully protected against, unlike before, so that is a playstyle thing that you do have to adjust for. But I think this card is really good. Sure, it's a reboot vanilla after turn 1, but just having native sec +1 against not Venusmon is brilliant. It is not a DNA Digivolution though, so you won't be able to make use of one of our next cards. Whereas this one, of course, everyone knows it, DNA finished the game. Card is ridiculous. Obviously, the Duromon gives you the ability to just drop an 11 cost and make the other one, but that is not the only way that we're going to be making this or this Ragnar. 4 DNA Ragnars, 6 overall. That's why you said that more than 8 megas or level 6s does feel pretty bad, because we also have a couple of options. Mega Digimon Assembly. Shout out to Jambo for this one. All of us have been kind of eyeing it up and testing it. If you haven't read the card, it is the new MDF. Whilst your opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon, you can ignore the color requirements. Then one of your 6 and 1 card in your hands can DNA into a level 7 in the hand. So instead of baiting for Blast Evo, this allows you to have your protected Briware or a Durandamon and actually MDA on their turn. If they've got aces, this means there are many opportunities where you can make this Ragnar without having to pay 11. Like, you pay the 4, you're about to pass turn. You make this Mega, you blow up an ace and get to blitz, burn the security, unsuspend, and actually make use of the second swing. So you don't necessarily have to blitz for game. You just have to be able to declare blitz, get your pops, and be able to keep turn, and then actually be able to finish the game. Again, with no options, and it's a great way to just completely clear board. This thing is fantastic. Hitting it out of security, adding, you know, one of your missing 6s and any Ragnar from trash is absolutely brilliant if your Ragnars end up in security, which they probably will. You've got 6 of them. MDA has been fantastic. Also, you don't, like, sometimes it has felt a little bit like a brick because you are waiting for your color sources or you're waiting for your opponent to present you a level 6. So it's possible that we might cut these down in order to streamline the deck, but all of us have been testing them. We have found that the card, when it works, it feels absolutely incredible, but the deck does have to be quite memory efficient and quite tight on its space, so that's really up to you whether you want to run it. But I think MDA definitely has pushed, like, how comfortable I am on the list to entirely new heights, and I think it will still stay as a one-of in my list. But what's more than a one-of is Mythical Arms of Salvation. Card's crazy in every matchup that isn't Fish. Interruptive when you would leave play out a Digimon from sources. So as long as you're not under Crimson Blaze, it allows you to play out, you know, maybe a new level 6 when your first 6 gets answered, or if you've loaded it, etc. Or as we talked about before, the Promo Zubamon being able to pop it out and then place it under something in order to tax 2 memory is a really cheap way of abusing it. And then also you can load the sources that aren't readily loadable, like this Duro or the Briway. But one of the things I like to do sometimes is, even if the intended way is to have a level 6 under a rookie, sometimes I will just pitch Ragnar Ace off of a Spada, Mythical Arms of Salvation or Ragnar underneath it, and then just be like, yeah, if you're not playing into, you know, a Crimson Blaze deck or something that would have Pomumon on the board and be able to delete you, sometimes I will just go, load the Ragnar, swing the rookie. If it dies, oh, there's my free Ragnar, burn top card of security. So your Spadamons are now doing effectively 2 checks worth of damage when it hits the board, which is just not normal. Very solid card. Plays out of security as well. And then goes to the delay area. And our last cards of the deck are 2 Digimon Emperor. Loki, the best rookie of the deck. Fantastic draw engine because you have so many different ways of popping things and removing things. Especially when you're going to be raiding over things frequently, or just getting cheap pops wherever you can. If this pops out of security, it goes crazy, and sometimes you do just play it to try and shut down the start of mains. It's possible I actually am going to bump this up to 3, because it also, like I said, sometimes underwhelming. Mega Digimon Assembly, you don't even need them to have the level 6 presented if you've got the Digimon Emperor White Source. So as soon as he pops out, MDA is live for the rest of the game as soon as you make your 6, which again allows you to be super proactive. So a couple of ratios that could be changed around to fit your playstyle. I personally like to swing at people and try and end the game rather than play that black control list, because the more you play control, the more likely you are to go into time, and if you can't quite close out quick enough game 1, that puts the onus on you, which can be quite difficult. That said though, your grind game is honestly really, really solid. Thanks to the recursion and being able to smartly pick like how you're going to build up second stack in the back, you can really chunk people down, especially when you've got multiple stacks out that you can pitch sources out from. If you're being really proactive with loading those sources back under, it means you can be really flexible with how the memory game works, even though we don't have a memory setter. But personally, I would say the things that I would like to adjust would be see if I can keep MDA whilst making space for another Digimon Emperor, and then changing up the rookie lineup a little bit just to be able to fit a little bit more search and a little bit more of the promo Zubamon. Don't sleep on the starter deck level 6s. They are crazy. And you don't have to run this, but I think more people should be on BT3 Ragnar. Currently the best performing stuff. We've been making use of the toolbox that we've got in order to do what we do best. Thank you to everyone that has been supporting the channel, and also thank you to everyone that's been collaborating on this whole Ragnaloardmon box. As I said, this is specifically my 50. There's entirely different ways. All 4 of us have different 50s right now that have been, of the people I've been talking to. So we've all got different ideas on how to do it. There's Japanese lists that have different ways on how to do it. But this personally is how I am currently running the deck. But from tomorrow, I'm going to be testing new 50s and making little tweaks here and there to find what works for me, whilst also make use of the data that other people have been getting. There'll be more gameplay coming soon, and by the time this comes out, the Misplay for Game winner case tournament is live. Well, the signups are live, so if you're in the UK, show up to that event, because I want to see y'all. We will be giving out cool prizes and a bunch of products and mats, and you've probably heard the spiel already by now. If you haven't, yeah, 27th of July. Link in the description. And yeah, big shout outs one last time to Jambo TCG, DHM, and Yuxo for just giving me so much extra data, so it's not just me in my mind palace trying to cook up the most deranged Ragnaloardmon list. And thanks to Bandai for taking that one idea that I was like, this doesn't seem like intended synergy, and turning the entire deck's identity into it. Because as much as I was mad about it at the start, I realized this is my fault. I appreciate you. But yeah,